Tonight on Joy News Prime, Institute of Local Government Studies announced the survey results. It says points to a yes vote in the upcoming December 17 referendum on the participation of political parties in local government elections, but says a new survey has become necessary in light of recent developments.
IGS intends to carry another survey in the next 2 weeks and find how much influence that decision that NDC made.
The governing New Patriotic Party is meanwhile urging the opposition NDC to reconsider its decision to campaign no in the referendum.
Brothers in the NDC to come back to the consensus table and let us together do what we know to be right.
Ghana Union of Traders Association promised to open up lock shops of foreigners they believe are engaged in the retail trade for a week, but only to allow them to pack out and leave the markets.
They will lock their shop. You are going to lock their shop. They're going to do it. I will say, yeah, bread. Yeah, Nigeria forecast, Ghana must go. Ghana must go, no. Yes, Nigeria must go.
Top police officer charged over his involvement in alleged coup plot denied bail once again after state prosecutors argued he could influence ongoing investigations. In business,
customers of fund managers recently shut down by Securities and Exchange Commission expressed frustrations following no-show by validation agents supposed to assist with processes leading to release of their locked-up funds.
Yeah, around 6:30 to 7. We understand that nobody has started anything. When we call the SEC live, they will tell us that they are coming, but nobody is coming.
And the much anticipated Joy News Hotline documentary highlighting the stigma childless couples are having to endure from society to debut tonight.
Whilst I was doing all I could to conceive, little did I know he had married another woman and they have had 3 children.
I'm Israel Lai, and Joy News Prime comes to you live from the Joy News studio here in Accra with digital address GA099253. Stay tuned in. The Institute of Local Government Studies says a survey conducted in the country's 16 regions is pointing to a yes vote in the December 17 referendum on the participation of political parties in the local government system. The survey results come on the back of a surge in the popularity of the no campaigners. The main opposition party, the NDC, only last week also announced it would ask its members to vote no. Joy News' PSC and NAR Safo reports the Institute has therefore resolved it will conduct a follow-up survey to ascertain the impact of the recent developments. Here's this report read to you.
The poll, which sampled 6,550 participants out of the registered 16,845,364 eligible voters across the 16 regions, revealed an overwhelming yes in support of partisan politics in local assembly elections. It was conducted between November 6 and 11, 2019, across 44 metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies. Dr. Nicholas Awatri is director of the institute.
The referendum requires that those who turn up to vote, 75% will have to say yes to the question before the referendum or before that Article 55(3) can be amended. This is dead on the number 75. Given the studies margin of error of plus or minus 5. Out of these, 13% say they have not made their mind whether to vote yes or no, but only 12% said they will vote no. And this is good news for the yes campaigners.
At least 40% of the eligible voters must turn up on December 17 for the referendum results to stand. Principal policy analysts are the Interministerial Coordinating Committee on Decentralization, Gamali Hodofia, however, dropped hints the level of awareness among the population could affect the outcome of the referendum.
There's very little awareness, about the upcoming referendum. Now, that is very troubling if we want to get 40% participation and of that 75% saying yes.
The ILGS says it has become necessary to conduct another survey in 2 weeks as a result of developments in the past week.
This study was carried out and was completed the day before NDC declared its intention to vote no. Once they made that decision, it is likely that the statistics that I've presented today may be affected. As to how much will be affected remains to be seen. So the ILGS intends to carry another survey in the next 2 weeks and to find how much influence that decision that NDC made will inform or will influence the decision of registered voters. 2 days after the completion of the study, the National House of Chiefs also made statements which now appears to have been discredited. But as to the influence that that statement will have on registered voters also remains to be seen.
PSA Nanaya Osafo's report for Joy News.
The minority in Parliament, meanwhile, says it has issued a 3-line whip directing its members to back the National Democratic Congress's position to vote against the upcoming December 17 referendum. Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu told Daniel Dazi on Joy FM Super Morning Show, though the party had adopted an earlier position, it has since been revised.
The NDC National Party has taken a position, and accordingly on Wednesday and Thursday, I issued a 3-line whip for all NDC MPs to comply and to ensure that we vote no at the referendum. The party has raised very key constitutional and other critical national security issues that must guide policy action and indeed guide even government. Now, the government of President Nana Addo Dankwa introduced in Parliament, the first of it was an amendment to Article 243 of the Constitution, which requires that MMDCEs can be elected. I should say that the decentralization system of Ghana, dating back to PNDC Law 207 of 1988, is a baby of the NDC, and decentralization itself, thanks to Professor Kwamina and Nansin and others, we've deepened it even though we've not achieved the ultimate. So sometimes my colleagues in government who boycotted the 1992 Constitution, they don't understand the principle and the purpose for which the decentralized, when I say the drafting of the Constitution, they don't seem to appreciate what the ETO to be driven by decentralized Ghana. So accordingly, when Article 2431 was introduced, we drew government's attention. I've seen my colleague holding the Hansard of 29 July 2019, that the amendment before Parliament was flawed because it was not comprehensive enough. And if that amendment passed, which is just an amendment to Article 2431 of the Constitution, we would not be doing justice even to the principle of an elected MMDC or DCA. So we said, for instance, Article 2433, which removes the DCA from office. So you are saying that the DCA should be elected, yet the president can fire him the next day after he's elected. That defeats the purpose. That is not part of the amendment the president introduced in Parliament. So if you are amending only 2431, you are doing cherry-pick, half-hearted constitutional amendment, which does not allow for even the elective principle that you are so espousing. Now, if you come to Article 248 of the 1992 Constitution, and with your indulgence, let me read 248. It's even fundamental, yet the president's amendment was silent on it. It reads, a candidate seeking election to a district assembly or any lower local government until such unit, a candidate seeking election to a district assembly or any lower local government unit shall present himself to the electorate as an individual and shall not use any symbol associated with any political party. So it may a political party shall not endorse, sponsor, offer a platform to or in any way campaign for or against a candidate. So yet the amendment before Parliament is also silent on Article 248.
Deputy Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Osei Bonsu Ama, who was also on the show, expressed disappointment at the U-turn.
On this occasion, his party has put him in a very difficult situation. I understand him. Some of the issues he's raised, we've gone past them. We've had several meetings as to the way forward. Even at a committee level, some of these issues were raised. But what we said was that let the people of Ghana know that we are committed to getting MMDCEs elected. After the referendum, there are several issues that can come up. And we on our own should not pretend that we have all the knowledge. We should bring everybody on board. So that if we think that even for the MMDC, that his term of office should not be only 2 consecutive terms, but it should run as MPs. We alone cannot impose it on all of us. All of us will sit down, debate, and look at the issues. That is why they have come on board so well. At one point, the minority team was led by the second deputy speaker for us to see the way forward. And all along, they gave us the impression that they were so interested in getting MMDCs elected on partisan basis that it should even take precedence over the 2431. Let me read what my good friend, the minority leader, said in Parliament. Column 5119, 29th July 2019. And I quote, "The people may decide otherwise, and you cannot determine it. So the support of those of us on this side of the house is conditional to the fact that DCs should be elected, but they should be elected on partisan lines. That is the principle we will support and work with." So what they told us was that
what you have with you is the Hansard.
Yes, the Hansard of 29th July. I can let you have it. You can read.
In another development, the New Patriotic Party is appealing to the opposition NDC to rescind its decision to campaign for a no vote in the upcoming referendum. At a news briefing Monday, General Secretary John Boadu described the party as unpatriotic and dishonest and provided what he describes as evidence of a series of consultative meetings and speeches of leading members of the NDC endorsing a multi-party system approach in the election of MMDCEs and local government officials.
The New Patriotic Party will, nonetheless, still stretch a hand of friendship and appeal to our members or our brothers in the NDC, the second largest political party in Ghana, as at now. But they may go to third because by the way they are behaving, to come back to the consensus table and let us together do what we know to be right for Ghana. We will appeal to the NDC to put the national interest first. The NPP is fully behind the president's program and the people's desire to democratize local governance and enhance accountability at that level. We are also happy to hear that the government intends to continue engaging the NDC and other stakeholders to get this important exercise of strengthening governance at the grassroots fully back on track. Government is still not relenting its effort in engaging the leadership of the NDC, irrespective of their U-turn. But because they can turn, I believe that they can turn again. We also call on all patriotic citizens, including followers of NDC and other parties, to do what we all know to be right and support the Yes campaign. We call on all other institutional stakeholders to also reach out to the NDC, particularly the presidential candidate and his party's leadership, to come back and support a Yes vote. There's a strong school of thought that the only thing that explains the NDC's U-turn is that being fully aware of the difficult constitutional requirement that at least 40% of electorate must show up, and at least 75% of these who show up to vote must cast in favor before such an entrenched position can be successfully amended, the NDC want to take undue, unpatriotic, and selfish advantage of that. Thus, they are merely playing politics by hoping to register a curious electoral victory by actively mobilizing their supporters to vote no. Indeed, our information is that the NDC intend to use referendum as a dress rehearsal for the 2020 general elections.
The NDC at its news conference last week cited polarization and monetization of Ghana's politics as reason why they disagree with multi-partisan local government election. The NPP, however, says, amongst others, a yes vote will strengthen decentralization.
A yes vote will strengthen our multi-party democracy consistent with our constitution. A yes vote will strengthen our system of decentralized local government by providing a coordinated and organized political system. A yes vote, ladies and gentlemen, will provide greater opportunity for citizens of voting age to participate in political activities intended to influence policies at the local government level. A yes vote will meet the constitutional mandate imposed on political parties to freely participate in shaping the political will of the people, especially at the local level. A yes vote, ladies and gentlemen, will afford political parties the opportunity to sponsor candidates for district level elections. A yes vote will bring political experience and competence in the practice and management of political parties at the local governance level. A yes vote will promote better and organized control of majority of persons who will be elected and will govern through multi-party democracy at the local level. A yes vote will minimize the exclusion of smaller parties from the governance of our country at the local level.
Moving on, Accra High Court on Monday once again denied a request for bail for COUP suspect ATP Dr. Ben Agwojo on the basis that he could interfere with investigations. State prosecutors opposed the application, arguing the senior police officer wields enough influence and power within the service to be able to tamper with the ongoing investigation. His lawyer Martin Pebu rebutted, insisting the investigations were being handled by the Bureau of National Investigations, which is an intelligence agency distinct from the police service. Court correspondent Joseph Akable was in court and our reports.
Martin Pebu told the Accra High Court the police officer had no intention of overthrowing government. He said the ACP was 2 ranks away from the highest rank in the service and therefore had a lot to lose to engage in the alleged crime. He informed the court he is married with 5 children and persons available ready to stand as surety should the court grant bail. He recounted to the court the over 5 hours long interrogation at the BNI office, which he said bordered largely on 3 issues which cannot be said to be evidence of crime. This included his advice to the Take Action Ghana group on how to organize a lawful demonstration, his donation of 2,000 cedis to support a philanthropic activity of the group, and his comment about conditions being rife for an Arab Spring. He wrapped up his submission by saying their call to the court is not to say ACP Agwojo has been kept unreasonably, but rather urging the court to exercise its discretion to grant bail. Senior State Attorney Hilda Craig disagreed, insisting ACP Agwojo pledged to assist the coup plotters with his technical expertise. Justice George Buedi in his ruling said the police officer could use his position and influence to interfere with investigations. He also explained that the position he occupied required some aloofness in relation to politics and pseudo-political activity. His arrest, he further stated, has revealed some connection with other persons detained in relation to the attempt to destabilize the country. Despite stating his comments are not harmful, Justice Buedi said he could interfere with investigations. The case that is before the district court is meanwhile to be heard on Wednesday, November 20.
Break here on Joy News Prime, but still ahead, the much anticipated Joy News Hotline documentary highlighting the stigma childless couples are having to endure from society to debut tonight.
Whilst I was doing all I could to conceive, little did I know he had married another woman and they have had 3 children.
Except it turned out that the 3 children that this man had were not his kids. We'll bring you all that later on in the bulletin, and later on after the bulletin at 8:30 p.m. Just One premieres. We're taking a break. We'll be back in a bit. Childlessness and the stigma that comes with it is what will make a man lead the wife to a fetish priest and watch as she is stripped naked and bathed in the most invasive manner. It is that same stigma that will make a married man go in for another woman who has 3 children for him, only to realize later that he was incapable of making a woman pregnant and so was unlikely to be the father of the children. These are just 2 of the many stories in the Joy News documentary Just One by Seth Kwame Boateng. It is also a story of how society is stigmatizing childless women for the sins of their men and the increasing rates of infertility amongst both men and women as a result of modern lifestyles. We bring you excerpts.
There is a general cultural belief among Africans that procreation is the basic aim of marriage. For many families in Ghana, marriage and procreation are inseparable. That's why marriages which fail to produce children often end in divorce. In Abba's case, her marriage has been threatened. A second woman has been brought in by the man's family.
My husband never expressed any worry that we didn't have a child. Whilst I was doing all I could to conceive, little did I know he had married another woman and they have had 3 children.
Studies have shown that childlessness could have lifelong impact on women and could affect their quality of life negatively. On the other hand, childlessness of the male as a result of infertility is often not acknowledged and is less visible. Further, there are other socially sanctioned ways in which men can mask their infertility. Childless men may therefore be less traumatized. However, in cases where the infertility of a man is known in the society, such man may also suffer different kinds of trauma and stigma. Medical examination conducted on Abba's husband later revealed he rather had a problem and not Abba.
At a point, he wasn't giving me money anytime I had a medical appointment. But because I am in dire need of a child, I would just find money and go to the hospital. I always went to the hospital alone because he felt he had 3 children with someone, so he didn't need any medical assistance. Until one day, Dr. Kantum asked him to come along. There, it was proven he had a problem. Because he could have sex with me, he felt the problem was coming from me. It is Dr. Kantum who made him know he had a problem. This means the 3 kids may not be his. But here is the case. His family blames me for our childlessness. If this burden is on you, how could you conceive? When we got home, he apologized for all I had gone through. Remember, I had had 3 surgeries already. He repeatedly told me he had worried me because he thought the problem was from me.
In other news, the Ghana Union of Traders has resolved to open locked-up shops belonging to foreigners engaged in the retail trade on Monday. The unlocking of the shops, according to GUTA, is, however, to enable the affected traders clear their wares and leave the market, warning that those who fail to comply would have their goods forcibly removed. Addressing a news conference in Accra on Monday, where the ultimatum was issued, GUTA warned its members are prepared to take the law into their own hands as a result of the government's lackadaisical attitude towards the country's trade laws. Joy News' Matilda Omega has more.
The group in recent times has complained bitterly about government's failure to enforce the laws that bar foreign traders from engaging in retail businesses. GUTA explains this was why some of their members in Kumasi and other parts of the country locked up shops they believed are owned by foreigners engaged in retail business a few weeks ago. Government has already condemned the closures as unlawful, but GUTA is threatening to extend the exercise nationwide if government fails to take action within a week.
We are going to open, but we are going to open for them to get rid of their goods. Not that we are going to open for them to remain in the market, but we are going to open for them to get rid of their goods and leave the market. We have given government 1 week to try as much as possible to enforce the act, so that within 1 week we expect all the foreigners in the retail trade to be out or to move out from those areas. We are going to embark on a nationwide action to make sure that we ourselves get rid of the foreigners in the retail market.
Some GUTA members are meanwhile accusing other Ghanaian traders of fronting for foreign retailers.
Those foreigners who don't come here by their own power, they doesn't know anybody in Ghana here. It's we black who invited them here. I'm a victim of what I'm saying. One guy came to me that he wanted us to do business. Afterwards, he told me I should support him with my papers and do his market. And I said no. I sent him to immigration to be repatriated. The immigration took money from him and gave him the papers illegally. A foreigner cannot rent a shop in Seki here without a foreigner, without a citizen person. So the citizens, we are the citizens. We are the cause of it. So if I have in support or in hand of this, then they should call me and fetch me out and then we put me aside.
The government, all right. The government. So if they are taking bribes, we don't know. But no more bribe. If they take bribe, we will also put the law into our hands and take action.
What does the group intend to do next?
What we intend to do is that our leaders have given us 1 week. So we are waiting for them.
Are you going to be patient for that one?
We are going to be patient. We are Ghanaians. We have been patient for long. And we don't fight. Ghanaians, we don't fight. We have been patient for long. So our leaders are giving us 1 week. We are waiting for the results.
Okay. So what will happen next?
We are going to take action. If the government doesn't take action.
What kind of action?
The foreigners to go. The foreigners to go.
How are you going to compel them to move?
They will lock their shop. We are going to lock their shop. We are going to do it. I will say, yeah.
All right, then that'll be all for the bulletin for this evening. But up next, we're bringing you our Hotline documentary, Just One, by Seth Kwame Wating. Stay tuned in.